Alright, this will be a video hopefully clarifying some of the things that I expect to see with referencing. I'll be looking at and referring to, when you see me look down, I'm looking at the screen at what I've provided you. It's a referencing notes document. But I want you to know that a couple of things when it comes to referencing. You must reference everything. I expect references within the paper, cites within the paper, and then a reference page at the end with all short papers and with the final version. Now, I'll explain this process and how it works and what I expect to see and those sort of things. However, the second thing with referencing is I do not require a certain referencing method. What I'm about to show you is what's commonly used. If you want to use footnotes, if you want to use author's last name, however you want to do it is up to you, as long as it's logical and it fits, right? So be sure that you do reference. Do not try to take credit for something that you did not say or write. If these are ideas from someone else, then you need to give credit for that. Also with the referencing here, this is required. Please, I'm repeating myself, references with each and every short paper and with the final version. Okay? Now, my suggestion to you, based on what students have told me from taking this course in the past, is that when you create your references for paper number 1, keep that reference list, the reference page that you have at the end of short paper number 1. You keep that. Keep it the same, 1, 2, 3, or author's last names, whatever. Then when you write paper number 2, you may use or cite something from reference 1 and reference 3. You may not cite anything from reference 2, but it stays on the list as reference 2. That way you keep a running list of your references, so when you get to the end and you're putting your final version together, you have that list and every single paper is using the same list. So that when you are looking at, say, paper number 8, and you reference on your reference page number 2 and 5, that's okay. All the other references are there because you've referenced them in other papers, but for this paper, they're there. It's better to have more references listed on the reference sheet than too few. If you have a site and you reference something in a paper and I go to the reference page and it's not there, that's not good. Points will be deducted, etc. If I go through a short paper of yours and I see all your references are there and you have even more references because you're using lots of sources, that's great. That's good. No points will be deducted. So just keep a running list there. Okay, looking at the document that I provided you, reference examples, reference notes, it's a 2-page document. You may not on your screen see the second page, so I'll be scrolling through the 2 pages or referring back and forth. The first page of this document is just me writing down things. This is all fictitious stuff. I'm just writing things down and as if it were, say, the body of a paper. The second page would be, say, the reference page for this document. Okay? So if you look, the very first sentence says, this document is to serve as a presentation of different referencing techniques, period, parentheses, 1, close parentheses. And if you scroll down to the reference page, the second page of this document, it shows that reference 1, there's a number 1 there, interview with Dr. Cunningham, title, where the interview took place, and on what date. So you may interview someone, a manager of a store, your dad who works for the company or something like that. You put the word interview, the name of the person, their title, who they work with, the date of the interview. That lets you know that this information was taken from a personal interview. All right. Then I have a quotation mark. I'm back up to the body of the paper. I have a quotation mark and it says, it is not intended to be the only source of reference information, period, close parentheses, then, close quotation marks, parentheses, reference number 2, comma, about us, close parentheses. What this, I can tell right now that this is going to be, reference number 2 is a web page, because I have to give the page name, I have to identify the page when you use a direct quote. It follows the reference, comma, then the page name or the identification. So when I put about us, that means that this is a website and this quote came from the About Us page. So if I scroll down, sure enough, under the reference list, number 2, www.brentcunningham.com. This is all fictitious. I'm just making it up. But it is a web page. And I have About Us page, comma, retrieved on this date. Okay? So you see that when you have a website, you identify the page. Websites do not have page numbers. They have page names. So there will be a name there. About Us page, History page, Our Products page, Our Mission and Visions page. It's going to be a name that's going to be in the URL up there. That's the name, the whatever you click on, the menu item. That's the name of the page. And then the date it was retrieved. If you have the date it's posted, you can put that there instead. Only one date is needed for each page, and it's the date it was retrieved or the date it was posted. You don't put 2, okay? And some of you will want to add more information. That's fine, but page not found and things like that, those are acronyms that you'll see in sites. If you give the page name, then the page was found. Date not found, DNF. If you offer a date, don't put the acronym DNF. If you don't know what I'm talking about with these acronyms, don't worry about it. If you put what I have here, that's sufficient. Okay. So if you want to put more, be sure you know what you're putting in. If you put a date and then you put DNF after it, you're saying here's the date, but the date was not found. That doesn't make sense. So make sure you know what the acronyms are that you start putting in these references. Notice the third sentence. I'm back up into the body of this example up here on page 1 of the reference notes. It's another quotation. Quotation marks. Many reference systems exist. Period. Close quotation marks. Parentheses. Reference number 3, comma, and then it says P period 2. So evidently this is a book, an article, or something like that because it's page 2. I have a number here because it's not a website. Now scroll down, sure enough, on the reference list, reference 3 is a book, the 5th edition, Southwest Publishing, and I don't put page numbers in the reference list because I just did it up here in the body of the paper. Before I move on with the second paragraph of the body, a couple of side notes here. Sites within the paper, when you use these parentheses, you want to make that as short as possible. Do not put the entire author's name or the entire URL, web address for a website or the title of the book or magazine. That's creating way too much. The reference system is there so you can make the site in the paper, in the body, as small as you possibly can. Then the detailed information will be on the reference list. So don't start putting a whole bunch of stuff in the parentheses within the paper. That's going to be as short as possible. Another note here dealing with sites within the paper. Notice that the parentheses and the site are after the period of the sentence. If you have the sentence, then you have the site, then the period, you're saying that that site is part of the sentence. That's incorrect. The site is not part of the sentence. You end the sentence with a period and then you cite it right after that. If the entire paragraph are thoughts and facts coming from a site, no direct quotes or anything, but an entire paragraph comes from a particular reference or source, you can put the site at the end of the paragraph. Parentheses 3, close parentheses. That will let the reader know that last sentence and the entire paragraph came from this particular source. If you have a quotation, the site needs to come immediately after the quotation marks. Okay? Alright, the second paragraph of the body here. However, this document can be an excellent source in putting references together, period. It is simple and to the point, period. So evidently, those two sentences were my own thoughts. I don't have to cite them. There's no reference there. Those are my own thoughts. Third sentence. of the second paragraph. The student does not need to adopt complex, difficult referencing systems for Marketing 495, period, quote, parentheses, 1, close parentheses. So this right here is something from the interview, and number 1 is an interview, but it's not a direct quote. It's just some information that I got from there, so I do need to cite it because that's where I got it from. And then the last sentence here has a fact. Only 20% of the students in this course will understand this system on day 1, period, parentheses, 2, comma, history, close parentheses. This means that this fact here is not your own, not my own. I wrote this. I got it from somewhere else. But the sentence structure, the sentence itself is something I created, but I included this fact. So I do need to let the reader know, where did this fact come from? And so it's not a quotation, true, but it is a statement of fact. And so I do give the reference, and this is very important. Watch what I do here, because most of you will have your list being all or 90% of your reference list being websites. Notice that I have reference to, comma, history as my last site there. Scroll down to the reference page, or reference list there, the page that has the references. The number 2 reference, again, is www.brentcunningham.com. Okay? We've already pulled something from the About Us page, and you've already listed it there. Then notice that there's a semicolon at the end of the date, the retrieval date of About Us page, right? Then I put history page, comma, posted on this date. You will get, for instance, someone in the class has Coca-Cola. She's going to get tons of stuff from the Coca-Cola webpage. Instead of having 24 items listed at www.coca-cola.com, and that's listed 24 times, she only has to list it once. It'll probably be her reference number 1. And it will be www.coca-cola.com. Semicolon, About Us page, comma, retrieved on this date, because she'll probably get stuff from that page. Semicolon, history page, comma, retrieved on this date, semicolon. She just keeps adding to that list, just listing it out every time she gets something from a different page on that website. She may, on paper 1, have 3 different pages that she cites within reference 1, Coca-Cola.com. Then she may have none in paper number 2, and then paper 3 she may pull something from a different page. She just adds that page to this running list out to the side of Coca-Cola.com. You do not have to list, or I'm asking you not to list your main web page or any web page multiple times. There's only one listing for it, for that web page. Then you will identify each page and the date you retrieve that. Then a semicolon, page, date you retrieved or it was posted, semicolon. Each time you pull from a page of that website, it'll just be a running list there out to the side of whatever.com or .org or whatever. Okay, so take a look at reference number 2, and you'll see how that's done. If I were writing, let's say this entire document here is my paper number 1. Then I write paper number 2. And on paper number 2, for reference number 2, www.brentcunningham.com, I have the About Us page, history page. Let's say on paper number 2, I get something from our products page. I will simply go into my reference list here, remove the period after posted 1/1/10, and I'll put a semicolon, and I'll put our products page, comma, retrieved, whatever date I retrieved it, period. I'm just adding it to, and it'll be several lines of page names and dates of posted or retrieved listed next to, in my case, this website of BrentCunningham.com. So I'm not going to have reference 2 is BrentCunningham.com. Reference 6 will be BrentCunningham.com. Reference 7, Brent Cunningham. I don't need to have multiple listings of that. It needs to be just listed once, the web address. Then out to the side, you'll put the pages for that. Again, this is what works best for most students. If you want to use footnotes, fine. If you want to use author's last name to document these things, fine. If you have APA format or any of these other formats that you want to use, or it's an automatic formatting system that you are going to use in the software that you're writing this in, that's fine. I don't care what system you use as long as it's logical. This is the one that seems to work the best for students. I'm not that picky with references as long as it's logical and it flows. Please keep in mind that if you do use a footnote software, a word processing software that provides footnote templates or reference templates and things, please remember that you will be converting it to Word 2010 to attach to that document and send it to me, and formatting may change with that, so just be aware of that and double check before you just convert it to Word 2010 and attach it without even looking at it again. So that's some reference help. Hope this helps out. If you have questions, you can shoot me an email or call me. My contact information is there under announcements. Thanks.